Okay, we'll get started. I would tell you that in my travels, I see a lot of times that dealerships are making some errors in equipment and purchases of equipment, and I thought it would be a wonderful topic to discuss because sometimes just even the loss of function of equipment causes a lot of struggles and lost revenue. I'm going to give some examples of what I see out here making these dealer calls, some good choices and some very poor choices. But regardless, first of all, the equipment has to be functional. I saw technicians that have a shortage of computers, or they're doing a download and the computer fails. They're updating software in a car or truck and the computer malfunctions and they have to start over, or they have to wait on the availability of a piece of equipment for a long period of time, and they go back and we lose efficiency. And really, the interesting part of this, as I talk to dealer principals, is that they know that people have been requesting this equipment or that they have a need, but they're looking at the cost. For example, a laptop, let's just use $1,000 to get a laptop. I was at a store, a dealership, Chevy store, that just set a record gross. And they had to update. They spent $200 on updating the software because they wouldn't even support the version of the software they had. So here's a dealer spending $200 to update the software. Had several of the keys on this laptop broken, and the laptop was probably, I'm going to just guess, 6 years old. So when you have this, and the technician was saying, okay, you got to wait 2 hours for us. It says it's going to take 2 hours to download this software that they just paid for, and here's technicians that didn't have a backup. They're waiting in line to use this equipment, and what did that pay? Now, if we look at that and say the laptop's $1,000, and this technician was waiting, or this lost productivity in the day just that I witnessed was a couple hours. But let's use that couple hours. So instead of getting about $200 an hour for a tech, and if you think that that's a high number, figure it $100 in labor and $100 in parts that could not be brought in revenue for the dealership because of this lost efficiency for one day. How long does it take to pay this piece of equipment out? If you have a situation similar to this, and you might ask yourself, well, maybe 2 months, maybe 3. Why in the world would anybody hesitate to purchase this piece of equipment? I was at a similar situation. I was in a parts department, and the manager's saying how the computer's going down and must have a virus or something. He's having to redo orders, and the computer will kind of blank out, restart, so anything he was working on, he had to start over. And I asked, how old is this computer in parts? And the computer, he said, gosh, I know it's over 5 years, but I don't know really how old it was. But in this situation, I asked if anyone had attempted to repair it or look at the issue. He said, no, the way it goes around here, we never buy anything like this anyway. I'm just going to leave it go. Well, in this case, it turns out that he had so many cables, so many feet of add-on cables, extension cords, and splices, that when those things were eliminated, I went back and come to find out, the problem is gone. The issue wasn't even that he had such an old computer. The issue was that no one was looking at the source of the issue. So he just lived day to day with this malfunction in his equipment and didn't go try to correct it. Well, when you see situations like this, and I'm going to give one more example, the alignment heads on a machine I was at, computer, just the alignment heads where the tires rotate were bad. They needed replaced. There was an estimate of $1,800 to replace with brand new units that functioned well. So the dealer didn't see the investment, but I'll tell you what was happening with this is all the time alignments were coming back. My steering wheel's not right. It's rolling to one side or the other, pulling to one side or the other. It's worse than when I even brought it in. Now, when your team knows that, let's say the advisor team knows that the equipment isn't top of the line or state of the art, or they're having all these comebacks, are they going to recommend alignments that they know they're going to have issues with? Short answer is no. How do your techs feel when they know the equipment's not right and they keep bringing them back? Who's going to pay them to do this alignment with faulty equipment and redo and redo and redo? What do you think the attitude is of these technicians or the staff when they're faced with constant equipment issues day in, day out? They don't get resolved. I'll tell you, it's just a no-brainer. The cost of computers aren't that much anymore. The cost of these alignment heads, let's just say $1,800. How long is that going to take to pay out? But when you're making decisions on equipment, start with that. It has to be functional. How can we help technicians be more efficient? How can we get the job done for our customer? Because really, doesn't it come down to that? What does it take to provide top quality customer care? And when we lose focus on that and we don't want to invest in functional items, then it really messes with the attitude of the entire team. Another point on equipment, I think, is very much in line with what we need to discuss today. I don't believe equipment needs to be the best. If you have a small shop, for example, of, let's just use 8 techs, and I'll tell you, I saw this wonderful tire equipment, this tire changer, state-of-the-art, has automated function. You don't even have to touch the tire anymore. It's just all pretty much automated. The tray lifts up, puts it on, takes care of it. A wonderful machine. It's $16,000 investment to get this state-of-the-art automated tire changer. So really, does this shop of 8 techs need this $16,000 tire changer? Maybe so, but you have to ask yourself one question before you do any purchases of equipment. How long will it take to pay out? How many tires do we have to change to get a $16,000 piece of equipment paid for? I think we need to, when we're evaluating equipment purchases, after the functionality issue's done, then when you're asking yourself this question, how long will it take to pay out? Use real numbers, not the dream. If you're talking to an equipment salesperson, they're real quick to cost justify that $16,000. well, if you do 5 sets of tires a day and you get this much money revenue building, and it's going to only take you, 3 weeks to pay this out. Don't use dream numbers. Look at your labor op frequency. Look at your actual on-site frequency of how many tires you're changing. How many are you selling? And then determine how long it will take your shop in your environment to pay it out. Another mistake I see in purchasing equipment is the dealer sometimes will go to a show, and I'll use the nitrogen machine in this example. So here comes a $6,000 nitrogen machine because the dealer purchased it at the last show. We got a 10% discount, and so that comes in. The team looks at it, goes, well, why do we buy nitrogen? We don't sell nitrogen. I don't believe in it. So here's a big investment on a piece of equipment that reality might just be there to collect dust. I think it's important when you're purchasing equipment like this, include the team. Make them a part of the decision. Don't purchase a piece of equipment on a whim thinking that, the manufacturer of the equipment says we can pay this out in 6 months. It might just collect dust. It might not generate revenue. Make the team a part of the decision with buy-in from them and commitment from them, and developing a plan of action on how the dealership is going to sell this new product. These are items that need to be a part of the decision to purchase a nitrogen machine. I think first, if you separate equipment purchases into 2 categories, the needs versus the wants. When you determine first, satisfy the needs. Can you imagine if you bring in a $6,000 nitrogen machine and you need some updated computer equipment or alignment equipment, or you have equipment that's not functioning well, and then comes a $6,000 machine that they don't even want or think they'll use? Management needs to be aware of equipment condition. I've seen lifts that are 15 years old, haven't been maintained, and are literally unsafe in shops. Take care of those needs. Involve the team. What do we need? Are we maintaining our lifts? Are they in good repair? What are the safety issues of our shop? All of these issues should be evaluated using the team and having them provide input to where improvements should be made. The attitude of your staff, including advisor staff, technician staff, parts staff, the attitude of your entire team is relevant to seeing you invest in facility improvements and equipment. If they are fighting the battle every day of poor equipment, of not having the availability and having to wait, not functioning properly, unsafe, I promise you the attitude of that staff is low. It declines when they see this. How do they feel? Are they motivated to do their best? Or they go, oh, great, I've got another update to do. Hope the computer works. I hope I don't have to wait 3 hours. The attitude of your staff is dependent on the management looking at and making good decisions on the right equipment. And the last thing before we open it up for questions is I'll mention this is a great year for equipment purchases. There's special tax considerations, accelerated depreciations, and it's a good year to consider upgrades and updates and additions to equipment. Call your tax man and ask how you can save on this type of investment. But if you need lifts or you need equipment, it's a great year to consider it. And it's always more productive for your team if you make these logical choices, build on this analysis. All right, Mike, we can open it up now, ask questions or comments. Raise your hand by pushing number 1. In this case, we'll open up the lines and get some input.
As Rob said, we just opened all the lines, so you guys can talk freely.
Come on, that's a lot of content you addressed today, Rob, and this Bruce. And first and foremost, I think the first thing that as consultants, when we go into a dealership, the first thing we notice is how well lit or not well lit a work area is, how clean the air is in the wintertime, how cold it might be. And then, of course, you hit the nail right on the head with the computer speed, the age, and with every vehicle having software updates today, I see a lot of slow computers out there. And then tool organization, and it just goes on and on and on into like you said, lift safety, whether or not it's been maintained. I notice a lot of lift pads without rubber on them. Cars can slip and slide on those things, especially when they're wet and iced up. And it's just a deep, deep subject. But of course, it takes dollars. It takes well-spent and well-planned budgets to address the topic today.
Oh, and great comment on special tools. I don't know how many times I see technicians spending an hour to locate a special tool that's just because of disorganization. Great comment. Okay, well, if no other comments, I will go ahead and close this session. Hope everybody has a great holiday, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
My name's Rob Gehring. I'm president of Fixed Performance, and I want to share with you that if you're unhappy with where your service department is, if you're unhappy about your body shop performance or parts department, we should have a no-nonsense, no-obligation chat and look for ways that we can help improve your performance in fixed operations. Right now, it's critical. Your fixed ops should cover up to 100% of your cost to open the dealership doors. If yours isn't, give me a call and let's talk.